Well, somewhat of a follow-up on the spending issue, even after earmark reform measures were passed, Congress stuffed over 11,000 projects into 12 appropriations bills, including $3 million, which was given to the First Tee, which is a program that teaches young people to play golf, and of course, Alaska's famous Bridge to Nowhere. Even though each senator wants a piece of the pie for their state, how do we rein in pork barrel projects? Would you support and vote for a moratorium on earmarks?
Well, obviously there needs to be earmark reform because, as I said, we have $10 trillion in this country. I'm running an ad now that says $9 trillion. That was as of 3.5 weeks ago. Now we have $10 trillion. We've seen a 69% increase in our debt as a nation in just the last several years. It's remarkable what's happening. It's happening because it's extra budgetary. It's going outside the appropriations process, outside the normal budget. And just look at the most recent bailout. As Secretary Joanne said, actually it was a better bill the second time. Well, it actually went up in cost by over $100 billion in special earmarked pork barrel spending projects. That's why it was a better bill in his estimation. Now, we need to get much tougher about doing exactly what we do in our families every day. We have to balance our budget, and that means something simple: not spending more money than you have. That's a Nebraska value. We know that. It's something that Washington has been unable to do for a long time, and frankly, it's a plague on both their houses. Democrats and Republicans alike have not adhered to the very principle that we live our lives by: not spend more than you have.
Yes, there's a good book out now everyone should read. It's called The Wrecking Crew. I think it's by Thomas Frank. And it's about how our government in the last 8 years has brought in big corporate leaders to run the agencies that used to be regulating them. And it's just a nightmare, you know. And we're having government leaders who are there to fight against the public interest, and we just have to begin to turn this around. And I don't think, I think we really need change. I think we need a new party that represents the people and that will really stand up for the people's interest. And you know, we've seen, you know, that both parties are capable of horrendous things, and I just think that we need a new party, a new direction. 85% of the American people think we need a new direction in this country, and that was before this economic meltdown, so vote green.
Let me just take a moment in the interest of honesty and accuracy here. That second bill was better just simply because the oversight was better. It had nothing to do with additional spending. And incidentally, Scott and I both supported that bill. That increase in funding that he talks about, that increase in the national debt, he supported. It's as straightforward as that. You raise a very valid question, and I'll answer it this way. There's only one person on stage who's actually had to deal with these issues. I took a general fund budget when I became mayor that was heading in the red, and we built it to $30 million, working with the city council, highest ever. We made the hard decisions post 9/11. Yeah, and some were very, very unpopular. I don't doubt that for a second, but it was the right thing to do. And today, we literally can say as a state we have the highest cash reserve in history. Reform the earmark process, change that pork barrel spending, that dead of the night addition. That's the right thing to do. The honest, straightforward, right thing to do.
What are 3 of the key components to your platform, and why are they important?
Well, the 3 key components of my platform is building a more peaceful world, better protecting our environment for future generations, and then bringing greater social justice. Those are our 3 top priorities. And what was the second part of the question? How would I enact those? Why are they important? Well, I think, again, we've had this parade of wars. I hear it from both sides, both these parties. They're either they want to invade Iran, or they can't say mean enough things about Iran. They can't say mean enough things about Venezuela. We're just being primed for war after war, and more spending is going to that, and the rest of the world doesn't need this. They need America to be moving in a new direction, being a part of the global community on the environment. This is so critical to begin to reduce our burning of fossil fuels, because we're going to have more and more climate change. And in Nebraska, we're on kind of the edge where we could easily become a desert. And that's happened in the Sandhills many times before. You know, and so we need to really get serious about helping the environment and bring peace.
Let me, if I might, jump right into these. Number one, we have to have energy independence. Ladies and gentlemen, when 60 to 70% of the oil that this economy needs comes from foreign sources, many of whom don't like us, that's bad. We need more drilling. We need more drilling in Anwar. We need more drilling offshore. We can do it in a responsible way from an environmental standpoint. We need more solar, in wind, in nuclear power. All of those things fit together, renewable fuels and conservation. We need budget reform. This just can't go on forever. You need the experience and background to be able to make the hard decisions, the kinds of decisions I have made as a mayor and as a governor. And then finally, you need pro-growth policies. Invest in your small and medium-sized businesses. Invest in your people with a training program that I've laid out in my economic development package. Grow the economy, pull down on spending, energy independence, and believe me, you'll set this country in a new direction.
I'll break it down to one. We need to support the middle class. Right now, the middle class is suffering under higher costs for everything and lower wages. And then how do we do that? What's the best 3 ways of doing that is to create new energy jobs. And right here in the state of Nebraska, we have the potential to produce 2.5 times our electrical needs, and yet we haven't done it. Iowa produces actually more wind power than we do. Why is that? We have more potential, but we've had failed leadership that hasn't pushed this forward. So we could create an energy independence portfolio that would actually invest in the second component, which is jobs. And that is that we need to make sure that we invest in the 90% of small businesses in our state that actually create the jobs. 90% of all jobs are created by small businesses. Targeted tax cuts to small businesses so that they can grow, especially at times like now when we're seeing the economic problems that so many are facing. The last thing, and it's troubling that it wasn't mentioned, and that is healthcare. Healthcare cost is an economic issue. It's an economic issue for small businesses that have to deal with the high costs of going up and up and up, and it's an economic issue for too many middle-class families across our state. That's what we should be doing.